Today is February 6th, and our readings all circle around one big question. Where do we find meaning when life gets hard? Is it off the beaten path, through surrender, or by clinging to something outside ourselves? Let's look at three very different answers, but they teach us about agency, trust, and staying human.
Hi, I'm Candy. I'm a hypnotherapist who's deconstructing from evangelical Christianity, and I know how mindset shapes our behavior. So, in this series, I'm going to share my daily reflections from three different devotionals. The Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo, and that one's a little more spiritual, non religious. Also, Jesus Calling by Sarah Young, which is a very modern Christian approach. And My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers, which is a very classic Christian angle. My goal is to help you see how each one of these devotionals or these day books might shape your mindset a little differently. And if you're into that kind of reflection, please like and follow for more. Let's get started.
Today, for February 6th, in the Book of Awakening, the message is that the divine, or, the supernatural, the unexpected, the place where you feel inspired or in awe, is often found off the beaten path. It's not where everybody else goes, where everybody tells you to go. It's not sticking to what everybody else has done, staying within the box. It's often found off the beaten path. And staying open to that can help you find it. Because when you think that you have to live life in a very certain specific way, you have to do things in a very specific way, that's the only way to success or to fulfillment or whatever it is you're looking for, to love, to a relationship, you're not going to find what you're looking for, most likely. You're going to find the everyday, those who are searching too, but think that they have to stay on the path that is well tread by many others. This doesn't apply across the board in every single thing, but in the a lot of times you probably have experienced that you find beauty in those little pockets that, those little, you're on a path and something takes you off of it, something unexpected, and you find something you never would have known to even look for. You didn't know what you didn't know, and you found it by getting off the beaten path and being willing to go there, staying open to what the unexpected could give you. And then when something catches your breath, when something inspires you or just puts you in a state of awe, take note of it and take the time to slow down and just allow yourself to be in the present moment. I think that's important for all of us. We get to whizzing on by and we don't. We think we know exactly where to go, what we're doing. And then we're not willing to veer from that for fear of our subconscious. There's a fear of the unknown. There's a fear of different. But when we go there, we find that different isn't so scary. It's different. There can be a whole lot of beauty, a whole lot of love and joy and excitement in that difference. So the message today is really just knowing that taking time for those moments to just be open to going off the beaten path when it feels right, or when you find yourself there out of your own control, just look around. There's beauty around you. And there's something you can take for it from that situation, from that experience to help you on your journey forward. For Jesus Calling, the message is about coming to Jesus to find rest from the stresses of everyday life. Just come to Jesus, and that Jesus basically is saying the hard lessons that you're going through, the suffering that you're experiencing is from him, teaching you something you can only learn through suffering. I remember this kind of message. in Christianity. And if God is all powerful, I don't know why he would choose suffering, because there's some pretty bad suffering that people experience. I've experienced some rough stuff, but there are people that have experienced way worse than me. And it's interesting that that is supposed to, I'm learning something. God's teaching me a lesson. And I think that's gross. To me, it's a much more loving thing to think this is part of just this planet. This is part of it, is the suffering here. And a lot of it has to do with our own programming and our own, the way the collective is programmed, the way our society, our religions, our cultures are programming us to behave in ways, to believe that we are separate from one another, so that when we harm one another, we're not affecting ourselves. We absolutely are. We absolutely are. Because sometimes people don't make change until it actually affects them. Even if it hurts other people, they don't do anything about it because it doesn't affect them. So they won't vote against something that's hurting others because it doesn't affect them. And then when it affects them, then they want some change. That's because they think that they are separate from others, not realizing that as a whole, if one of us hurts, we all hurt. Think of a family. When one person is struggling, it affects the entire family, not just that person. It throws the balance off, and the whole family has to adjust to try to recalibrate. It's the same thing in the collective of the world. The other thing that's mentioned is that they shouldn't cling to anything else but Jesus as you're going through suffering or any time. And it's just clinging to an imagined being, and then you fill that imagination of a being. You give it the characteristics that you think it has, the characteristics you like, the characteristics you want it to have. If you don't like certain people, this Jesus that you believe in won't like those people. If you love certain people, this Jesus will love those people. It's a way of, it really is making a God in your own image. The idea of Jesus has been made. It is a God made in each individual Christian's own mind. They piece this Jesus together. So that's why it looks so different from Christian version to Christian version. They're not the same. And that's why you have Westboro Baptist or whatever that stands out and holds signs in the middle of funerals. And then you have some that are very loving and kind and are inclusive. There is the idea of Jesus is the image you put on this Jesus. So he's made in your image, or the image of the person who believes in Jesus as God, or as a God separate from yourself. And finally, in my utmost for his highest, the message is today for a Christian that if we're Christians, I'm not one, but I would have read this as a Christian at one point, that you should you should tell God that you're ready to pour out your life for him. You're ready to be poured out like a drink offering, just drained. And that you should bow your will to him. When you do this, you are bowing your will to him, and accept the consequences without complaining, no matter what they are. And that if you don't bend your will, the reason you have to is because that's the only way that you'll learn to see that you are completely dependent on him, that he's all that you need. And this is just, I remember this message. And so you completely lose who you are, and you become what you think God wants you to be, which is really what the church wants you to be, which is really what your particular church and your particular leaders want you to be. And then you lose your personality, you lose who you are. And I've been there, and it's awful. And that's one of the best things about leaving Christianity, is finding myself again. So that's the 3 books for today. Take from it what benefits you and the world around you. Have a great day.
Remember, you get to decide what you devote your thinking to today. You might not be able to control every thought that comes in, but you can definitely decide what you entertain. And whether it comes from something I've said today or something completely different, choose wisely and set an intention that truly benefits you and those around you. And if you found any value here today, don't forget to like and follow. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And let's keep our minds on what helps us love ourselves and each other a little bit better every day.